This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded November 19th, 2015, episode 275. No one even missed us?
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Why do we bother? Everyone knows who we are.
Do they?
Like, unless you're listening to this for the first time and this is your first ever episode, in which case we
Chris
apologize
Gamble
for
was born a young man in Pennsylvania.
Really? You were born in Pennsylvania?
I was, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I won't say the city in case, you know.
In the cornfields or something, were you?
Someone's trying to guess my security question somewhere.
Oh, right. Okay, and your mother's maiden name is...
Right. Chris's first pet was named Blank, and
Yeah.
his mother's maiden name... His mother, who used to be called Blank Blank.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, man. They'll get you every time.
Yeah. Hey, our live show was a huge success.
It was such
Everyone
a
loved
success.
it.
It was such a success that we felt we couldn't even top it last week, and we just didn't record it all.
Yeah, no, that was it. We just went out
Yep.
on a high. So,
Yep.
you know.
Just
Yep.
all over. You know, the thing that bugged me most is that no one mentioned it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Chris, Dave, where were you guys? It was like,
I
eh.
know, we just missed a week and not a single person. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I was asking around if people had missed it or anything like that, and most of them were like, "Oh, I'm guessing some of it was just BS." And that's fine. I mean, I don't mind if people
Right.
don't listen, but they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm so many weeks behind," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So the official story is that last week was a catch-up week for everyone. So you're welcome. Got to put that positive spin on it, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were at the Hackaday conferencey thing, and yep.
Yeah, and you had Jack Gansel in your lab. How'd that go?
I had Jack Gansel in my lab. It went awesome, and he dropped by for an hour or two on his holiday. So thank you very much, Jack, if you're listening. And we shot an impromptu video for an hour. And,
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone loved it. Everyone thought it was the best episode ever.
Yeah.
It's like, great, all that content, 1,000 content.
Yeah, right.
Produced 1,000 videos, and, the best one ever is when Jack comes on and talks.
Yeah, man. It was like glimpsing
Nah,
into
he's
a
awesome.
potential future where like it looked really awkward with you sitting next to someone. I mean, obviously you sit next to David, but when he's on your videos, but like doing interviews in person is such a different thing. It's like
Yep.
it's oh crap, we have to look each other in the eye. Ugh.
Yeah, and it, because it's a different thing. Like sometimes I've done like my I've done interviews where like I'm behind the camera, like I do an introduction in front of camera, but then I go sit behind, and then you hear my voice behind.
Right, you do that with
camera.
DJ Delory, is that his name? Right.
DJ Delory,
Yeah.
Colin Mitchell, the 4 or 5
right. Yep.
part
The electro
interview,
chip
a
or
huge
whatever.
one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Silicon chip. Yeah.
No, not Silicon Chip. Talking Electronics.
Oh, sorry.
Talking
Yeah.
Electronics magazine. Yeah. That was like a 5-parter, and I was like behind the mic, just
Right.
sort of, so you'd hear this mysterious voice. I don't know. Please tell me what you like, by the way. If you prefer, like me in front of the camera. I don't like it. I'm looking at it back, and it's like we're looking at each other, so we're not. There's a couple of things. We're looking at each other, so we're not addressing the camera.
Yeah.
So but it kind of is a bit more personal in that way.
I think the way to do it is to have two cameras, and you kind of that's what they do on like the Daily Show and stuff like
I
that.
know.
They kind of like look over a shoulder at the
Yeah,
other person.
I know. Well, I did actually set up a second camera as a backup. That sort of, but once again, it was still focused on the two of us because
Right.
if the other
no
camera goofed
reshoots
up
on
for
that
some
one.
reason, no. So no, he's off. So it was just a backup, and I thought about that. Oh, maybe I can splice in some footage, and then I can like zoom into Jack's head because it was on an angle, so like actually looking towards him. So I thought, no, I kind of considered that maybe I could splice in some footage of just like zoomed into his face, so that and he's kind of looking to camera more. But it was just too much work, and I just couldn't be bothered editing.
Yeah, man. At a certain point, it's just two people chatting, so that's good. That's great. He came by though. I mean, did he? Was this before? This was after he'd already given the course. I got about halfway through the video.
Yes. He had just finished doing the course in Sydney, and he was driving up to the Blue Mountains, and well, my place was on the way, so he dropped by. And
nice.
Yep.
That's great. That's great.
Then he was heading up to Queensland to do another one, I think, and then he was heading back to Hawaii. Lucky bastard.
Yeah, well, got to get home somehow. Might as well go to go to there. Worst places to go. Yeah.
Well, I'm a lucky bastard too. I just choose not to and then grumble about it. I could just piss off and just take 6 months off and just go.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So. And the other thing is the audio, because we're both sort of looking towards each other, we're not projecting our voice towards the microphone, the shotgun mic, and I didn't bother wiring us both up. I didn't go to that effort. I just went, shotgun, near enough, kind of thing. So, although I guess with hindsight, I probably should have, put a mic like on the table between us or something like that. Perhaps that would have been better. And then I tried to use our friend the Levelator, the program that we use for this, right? To level, you still use that to level our voices,
right.
don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And you do it separately, right? You level your voice, and then my voice track, and then
and
mix
it compresses and it amplifies, and it kind of just normalizes everything.
Yeah, it normalizes everything. And I tried that. I've used it on a few videos in the past where I've done stuff like this, and it's worked, but there was too much noise. There was too much background noise because I had I've got an air purifier thing. It's low noise, but it was right next to the camera, and I forgot to switch it off, and so you could hear that hum. So when I put it through that program, it just didn't work that well. So I decided it was better to have soft talk, because Jack's a lower talker. I'm quite a loud talker.
I had noticed.
What's the Simpsons character? Loud somebody.
No. That's that's
am I thinking of?
Dilbert, the loud guy.
Oh, Dilbert.
Yeah,
Why am I thinking? Yeah, Dilbert. Loud.
Loud Larry or something like that.
Loud Larry or something like that. Yeah.
Bah, 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 right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I'm loud and Jack's a bit soft. So it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, sound really it can make a difference for sure for videos and stuff like that.
It makes a big deal. Audio is not easy to get. Mm-hmm. Shooting stuff. When I'm behind the camera, I've got it all sorted out. It's like. But when you get impromptu stuff like that, or I go out in the field, I do those trade show ones or something. It's like audio is so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, speaking of audio, so what did you end up going back and listening to any of the Colin show or no?
I didn't actually. No.
But, it did turn out pretty well. I think
because I heard it while I was.
That's true. You were there. Yeah.
I was there.
We will be doing that again. We have to figure out the frequency.
Yep.
Someone suggested every quarter, maybe 4 times a year. That sounds like a good.
No.
More?
Really? I thought every third week. I thought we should do
put it in the rotation?
Interview, and we should do an interview, then we should do this crap, and then we do a call-in show, and then interview, because we tried to do that one week interview, 1 week ask, 1 week interview, and that was tough to schedule enough people, So I think maybe I think every third week.
Okay, well that would be
what do you think?
Once a month at least. Sometimes some months we have 2.
Yeah. Or maybe we should have a break. There you go. We've been doing this shit every week for 5 years. Maybe we should actually...
No breaks. Come on, man. No. We'll get lazy and we'll be... No. All right, so maybe more, though. I'd love to hear from people, honestly. I think the key thing is that we should be upfront that we're restricted on time, because... So right now, we started recording tonight about 7 p.m. here. It's about 11 a.m. in Dave's time. It's
smack in the middle of the day, so this amp hour chews up a good more than half of my day.
Yeah, at least your morning into the lunchtime, right? And so, and the big thing would be, so that puts us at sort of 7 p.m. here means it's 4 p.m. in Pacific time, which means that in England right now, I believe they're 4 hours ahead of us.
It's about 11 p.m. or something, isn't it?
So that's 11 there.
It's approaching midnight,
Yeah, I think this is one of the better crossover times in general, But, as you go further and further east, so if you're like in Germany, then I think the time zones are slightly different this time of year.
I think Germany's tough. Yeah, Germany is like a couple of hours ahead of, like 2 hours ahead of.
You can look it up right now. So
UK
if it's 7 p.m. here.
Yeah, something like that.
What time is
Because I get that
Berlin?
when I do the live shows. I'm doing the live show at, this time, like, about this time, because it's like kind of like the ideal time.
Yeah.
Worldwide. And, people in Germany say it's 2 a.m. here and,
Yes. Oh, so we're actually. So I'm sorry. I'm 5 hours behind London. So that's 12:13 a.m. right now, there, and then 1:13 Germany. So it'd have to be the night owls in Germany, and then if you go further and further east, right? So people in like kind of Eastern Europe into Russia.
Yep.
That'd be
Russia,
fewer and fewer. So. We do need to decide a time. Maybe we could try and go a little bit earlier here, and then get the.
It'd
late
have to
people.
be earlier. Yeah. That's why I do. If I do live shows, it's going to be like I do it like 9 a.m. or something.
9 a.m. Okay.
9 a.m. or 8. I try and come in early. That's sort of like ideal.
Okay. Well, we'll like Dave said, we'll try it again. We'll figure out the frequency. We'd love to hear from people in the comments. We had a lot of great comments before. I think the key thing that we need is just people to actually call in. Like people like, oh, it was so great. And then we only had like 5 calls and we aired all of them. That was great. But I think it's also something we have to hear.
But we just had enough,
Right. And so we can't just rely on Twitter. We'd also have to have regular listeners call in and plan for it, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, so we don't know if we just got lucky and we just got enough people call it in and then no one will ever call in again. Like that could certainly happen. That's a risk,
Definitely. Yep.
Speaking of live shows, I'm finally getting off my big fat ass and, well, it's not that big and fat. It's more like a lazy ass than a big fat ass. Just saying. Just clarifying. And finally setting up my live bench. My live bench. Like I'm actually, I've now trying to set up a dedicated bench where I've got like all my, I'm going to have my soldering gear on that bench. So I'm moving my soldering gear. So I'm going to have my Tagano microscope. I'm going to have my new Mantis Elite Cam microscope. So I've got both of those on there. I've got my previous high-end editing PC under there so I can capture the real-time Tagano footage from my Tagano microscope at full HD at 60 frames per second. And I'm got a webcam set up on there. So it's going to be like a dedicated live show bench so that, at a moment's notice, I can just switch on that computer and go live. And then I've got access to both of my microscopes so I can mix those in,
nice.
and do all that sort of jazz. And the webcam's going to be there, so it's going to be set up and so
cool, man.
That's the
good.
plan. Although, like I set up last night, I was here late. I decided to finish it instead of going to the gym, and I thought I'm almost there. Hooked up my Tagano microscope, plugged it in, got the drivers installed, download, blah blah blah. Going to start recording, and the recording quality is shit. I don't know what's going on.
What does that show up as? Does it appear as a webcam or what?
The Tagano microscope, I've got a physical HDMI capture card, so it's HDMI out of the camera, and I've got like a hardware compression HDMI capture card inside the computer.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't, but you can actually run a driver, and it can appear as a streaming camera device. So then I can stream that live if I want to, or I can capture it, and I can choose.
Yeah.
So, but for some reason, like it's the awful compression. Like, I don't know it used to work on my old bench, on my old machine, but now I've got a new machine I download the software fresh and nothing works anymore. I hate computers. Hate them.
Yeah, well, that's so that microscope is built to basically just go straight into a monitor. Is that kind of the idea? Is that
yes.
Most people use
it's got 2 outputs. It's actually got HDMI output. It's got USB 3 output. And so I might actually try the USB 3 now, but it's not as flexible. But you really need high-end processing to capture that. So whereas the HDMI hardware compression card is better, and I can stream that. I don't think I can stream the USB camera version. So, and it worked before, so I should be able to get it working again. So it's just something's gone wrong. And the other thing...
And another thing.
Now... I got this gorgeous new 25-inch Dell monitor, one of these 2500 resolution by 1400, not quite 4K, but get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I'll use that as my main editing monitor, right? So I put it in here, and it's just no, it just didn't work. It's like unusable because it's such high resolution that the font is, if you go for 100% scaling, the font is too small, right? So you can't read it, right? Because it's only a 25-inch monitor, right? So, so the font goes smaller. Yeah, Windows has like scaling and stuff like that where you can scale the size of the font, but half the programs don't work with it. The fonts look funny, and your web browser looks funny, and my forum looks funny. It's got some weird chopped off thing on it. It's like, no. So I've ditched it. This gorgeous higher resolution color calibrated monitor, right? It even came with a color calibration certificate.
I imagine you sitting there with like a color calibrated monitor doing layout in 16 colors,
right?
Black background, things that were made for CAD. Old CAD computers.
I do video for a living, Thank you very much.
Oh, right.
And, where colour's important, And anyway, so I've ditched it. I've gone back to my full HD 24-inch. Like, it's just, it's better. Like, greater resolution is not necessarily better. I'm sorry. Except if it was a big monitor. If it was a big 30-inch like I used to have at Altium. Everyone had like 30-inch monitors back then. That was a big deal 5 years ago.
Yeah, those aren't cheap. They're still
five,
not
6
cheap.
years ago. Yeah. No, they're still not cheap. But back then, they would cost like $2,000 a pop or something. And it works great when you've got a 30-inch monitor. But scaling in Windows. And then I go on Twitter and complain about it, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, scaling in Windows sucks. Don't do it." It's like, okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah. So. Bloody computers, they're shit. And now I plugged my old monitor back in, and now because I'm using a HDMI cable, it can't even expand it to the full screen of the monitor. So I've got to go back to a DVI cable. So after this show, I'm going to fix that. And hate computers. I just want to ditch all technology.
Well, I think you're overthinking it, to be honest. I mean, like, you probably could get 90% of the way. Like,
but I don't want 90% of the way.
People care more about getting something rather than something perfect.
No, you
care more.
No, it saves my sanity, right?
No,
I have to deal with this shit.
This is the same thing we do with circuit boards, right? I mean, like, sometimes it matters that every single thing's perfect, but sometimes you just got to get that thing out of there, You just got to get it.
Oh, yeah, sometimes you just get it out, but that's not... No, but you're talking
you're like a manager's nightmare.
No, I know a product like that is different to a tool.
First.
No,
I have to fix this thing.
No, look, you've got to differentiate between the tools you use every day and a product. It is different. I'm talking about a tool.
It doesn't sound like you're using a product. It sounds like you're futzing around with the twiddly knobs on a product.
Come on, you know what Come on, you must understand what I'm talking about.
I know what you're saying, but this is
it's like saying, right? It's like when I'm editing my videos, right? I've got a script which, handles like all the transcoding and everything like that. You're saying I shouldn't have bothered actually doing all that because 90 or 95% of the way, and I should just continue to do it manually for the rest of my life.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
I shouldn't have an optimized tool. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm saying you shouldn't stop everything in your... I mean, this is the same thing with every tool, like workflow and tool chain and stuff like that. You shouldn't stop everything you do to go and perfect it. I mean, it's okay over time if you keep modifying it, but I used to do this kind of thing too.
Who's talking about stopping everything?
Well, I don't know.
I was joking, saying that I'm going to give it all up and go bush. Come on.
I didn't mean that. I just mean that if you're spending all this time on it, then I don't know, that's...
What? How long did you spend setting up your optimized rig for shooting all your videos?
Over time, sure, a lot of time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
It sounded to me like you're like, no,
it's not like I'm
everything stops.
No, I'm not going to stop shooting videos for a month until everything's perfect.
Gotcha.
No, of course not. No, but I'm not going to live with a bloody monitor, my main monitor in front of me that has a horrible looking front and font and it's going to ruin my eyes and I should squint. Like, bullshit, right? No, I'm going to fix that right now. I'm not going to leave that for a couple of months. Bugger it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You do that.
Can we talk about some shit?
Sure.
Other than,
would you like to hear about SuperCon?
Tell us about SuperCon and how much a wonderful success it was. You organizer, you.
You interviewed Jack Gansel. I actually interviewed Grant Imahara on stage.
Do you have video?
There will be video of everything, actually, yeah. Really nice video, too.
How did you get Grant there? Obviously, you paid him. It's a paid appearance.
Mouser sponsored him, so
Right,
he does
Mouser,
a lot
right,
of that
yeah.
stuff. So
He's Mouser paid him a buttload, I'm sure. Yep.
Not sure about that, but yeah. So they sponsored him showing up, and he was great.
Well,
I mean, I had met him before,
he's
but
doing it wrong.
But he was, he did a great job. So very very charming.
Speaking of which, Mythbusters is finished.
Yes, yeah, there was the announcement about that, huh?
Yeah.
Although I mean,
it is gone.
He's not on there anymore, anyways. But
No, they fired them like a couple of years back.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Is it 2 years ago now?
It's been, I
Holy
think,
crap.
well, it was like this current running season, which is the last, and then last season. So yeah, they announced it before last season, I believe.
Yeah, right. I got to admit, I haven't watched it for a long time.
I don't have cable,
since
so
I haven't watched it since season 8 or something. I don't know. What are they up to? Season 12 or something?
it's pretty up there.
I've been meaning to do a whole binge watch.
Yeah.
So I probably have to do that now that they're finished.
Yeah.
Or this last, they're finished shooting. This last season will be their last one.
Right.
So.
Right. And there was a nice article that we had up on the
There is
on the Amp Hour subreddit as well. It was kind of like, and it's there's some really interesting stuff in that article that they can't necessarily correlate to Mythbusters, but
right.
the fact that there actually is more interest in science and stuff like that. Like, how do you correlate any of that stuff? You could say, Bill Nye and all of these popular culture references as well. But I had pulled out a quote. It said, best of all, a study conducted by researchers at UCLA found the number of college freshmen enrolling in STEM majors has climbed nearly 50% since 2005. If a few more kids today want to grow up to be Elon Musk or settle on Mars and cure cancer, we have Adam and Jamie partly to thank for that. Which is,
I totally agree. Yeah. I think they had a huge influence, and it's hard to judge. Maybe you could do surveys of every technical person who starts university and goes were you inspired by Mythbusters or something? I'm sure all of them have seen it.
Right, but then even still, if they mention it, how big of an influence it was. Maybe it was just one small thing that got them to say, "Oh, I want to try this one thing," and then that did it. And it's like, where do you really apply the
it's not,
interest?
Not many people have a sudden epiphany, is it? Like you watch Mythbusters and go, oh, you start shaking and go, oh, my life has changed. I'm going to become an engineer. It doesn't happen like that.
And that's when Dave decided, I shall be a nerd.
It doesn't happen like that. I grew up with, shows, Curiosity Show and stuff like that. But, it's not like I watched that and went, I'm going to become an engineer.
It's more about trends, right? So you watch one thing and then you say, "Oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe go watch some YouTube videos these days."
Because that interests you, and you start
a rabbit
watching,
hole, right? And then eventually,
exactly.
I wonder about quantum mechanics, and all downhill from there.
So so I think their influence is massive.
Yeah,
massive,
yeah, definitely.
I think it's bigger than Bill Nye the Science Guy, and
I think Bill Nye had a huge influence too, though. I mean, that's the kind of thing where you only get it a couple years on.
We never got Bill Nye here. I had never heard of Bill Nye. I had never, ever heard of him before, 5 years ago or something.
Right, but that could also just be an exposure thing too, because just of more readily available these days.
Mythbusters is worldwide.
And also their production company is Australian, so that helps, I'm sure.
Not necessarily.
I'm sure it helps a little.
No, it's,
Okay.
No, they're just huge. It was such a huge show. I don't think Bill Nye's show. I don't even know what Bill Nye's show was called.
Bill Nye the Science Guy, really?
Yeah. I don't know. Seriously, I've never watched it.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I've never watched it. It has never been on TV here ever. Right?
Yeah.
It just wasn't syndicated enough. Right? Like it wasn't as popular.
Syndication, right? That stuff does matter.
Worldwide, yeah, it matters. It's huge.
Kind of makes you wonder, so will that kind of thing happen again too? Obviously, YouTube, we've heard of this YouTube thing, but
right.
Will that kind of thing happen again? Because you think about just the accessibility now. If it's if a consumer has to go out and seek out this stuff first, that's different than, if it's I go watch a channel, I like stuff on the channel, and then this is one thing on that channel that I really like. So just like the influence of media changing again, or continuing to change, I suppose.
I don't know.
I guess we'll tell in about 5-10 years when people are like, "Oh, Dave's retiring. It had a big influence on me." Why?
I actually
Why
get
did
that
I
all the
spend
time,
all
and
that
I'm
time
sure
watching
it's something Adam and Jamie get all
Yeah.
the. Well, I know for a fact it's something they get all the time. Oh, you inspired me to, do this, and I get that all the time, and it's great.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's one of the huge reasons I do this. It's probably the biggest reason.
Yeah,
that
man,
I
you were
love to
brought
do
up.
it.
You were a bullet point in a talk that I saw, the final talk
was I?
of the Super Conference.
Yes,
Yeah.
that goes on my tombstone. He was a bullet point in a in a talk.
Dave Jones with a bullet.
What talk was this?
It was Nick Sayer talking about DFM. So I forget which.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Something
Yes,
in the
yeah,
hundreds
no,
of yours.
Nick is, Nick is one of the YouTubers, I believe, who was influenced by my channel. In fact, I'd like to say most of the electronics channels out there were somehow, at least
don't
partially
pat yourself on the
influenced.
back too hard, man. You'll pull something.
I might. I gotta. No one's gonna pat me on the back for it. Might as well do it
It's
myself.
a long ass drive out there. Yeah.
No, but I actually get this. I get, I
I'm
get
sure you do.
everyone. All the content producers. I can't think of one that hasn't at least, thanked me. I don't think so. It's good. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. We're one big happy family.
We are indeed.
So yeah, all those talks will be eventually on video. Man, Sprite TM, one of the other judges, or maybe he wasn't a judge this year. Yeah, he might not have been a judge this year, but he gave like a quasi keynote about the Tamagachi Singularity. Holy crap!
What's that?
So it was like he created servers to basically do replication models of Tamagotchis, where like instead of you know what a Tamagotchi is?
Oh, yeah, it's a little
It was like a little
electronic
handheld
thing
toy
you got
you
to
had to
keep.
you had to keep alive,
pushing
and
the
basically
button, otherwise it dies.
right. So he took it from the hardware realm, put it into the software realm, and created like these like servers, like a farm rather, where like there's all these different generations, and over time they would evolve and all this crazy stuff, and then he ended up putting it back onto hardware, and it was just like the whole talk was just insane. So definitely
Reminds me of like the Game of Life and stuff like that.
Yeah,
back in
right,
the
that kind of
60s
thing.
and 70s. That was the big thing.
Yep.
Very similar.
So I don't think I announced that on here either, but I actually designed the badge for the conference as well.
Well done.
Thank you.
What kind of badge was it?
It was a passive badge.
What is a passive badge? What is
I
that?
didn't have any components on it, so it was really more like aesthetic. It was like the conference
so
logo
it was like
and stuff like that.
It was like some sort of proto board, was it, or something?
Yeah, so it was like the front was all like these squiggly lines called Trouchet patterns, which are like remember when Fabienne was on the show and she talked about like genetic algorithms?
Right. Yeah, the mathematical algorithm patterns. Yeah.
I finally understand what the hell she was talking about. It took me making something with them in order to do it. And so there's this pattern where like basically there's a 0 form and there's a 1 form, and all you have to do is like just replicate it in different versions. They all fit together no matter what. But basically if you have like 0 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 in different rows, and like it depends on how you end up modulating that pattern actually significantly changes the look of the overall thing when you zoom back.
Got it. And how did you generate this pattern? Did you use a program to generate some sort of image with ones and zeros?
No. This one was just a fixed one because all the PCBs had to be the same. But the idea is that no matter what, then every badge also can kind of be put side by side, and then becomes continuous because they all automatically fit together.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So that was the front side. But then
so you could actually stick them all up on a wall and have one bigger pattern.
yes,
Is that
exactly. Yeah.
right?
So yeah, and that was personally gratifying just because I understand what the heck this scarf I'm going to be getting is all about.
Right. There was talk about hacking the thing though. How can you hack it if it's just a bare board?
Right. So that was the front side, and that was like the squiggles were like the squiggles were exposed copper and stuff like that. What I did then is I took a via and I put a via between each of the squiggles. Like there was like a centralized area, and so that was like a through-hole grid of points on the back. So I didn't relieve the solder mask around the via on the front side, but I did around the back side. And
so you could make contact with these strips on the front.
Yes, exactly. That's what. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone actually did that, but you could have. And then where there was actually writing on the front side, I didn't want to put holes through, so I just made like a grid of squares for doing surface mount prototyping. And I'll put pictures up and stuff like that.
Yeah, we need a high-res photo, please.
Yeah. And so then we're like, well, we should just have a contest. And then so we basically put together we had three categories of contest: best dead bug, best Blinky, and then most over the top. And holy crap.
So did you just like provide a whole bunch of parts, a big junk bin? And
So we had a bunch of parts, and then a bunch of the vendors gave dev boards and stuff like that.
Okay, right.
But I mean, like the most. Okay, so I'll tell you about the three that were
example of that. Yeah, okay.
So the three winners, the best. The best Blinky. The guy scratch made a POV display using. So he basically, and so then he during the judging section, he was spinning this badge around and it spelled out Hackaday, and so he had gotten. And this is like seriously like 8 hours max of modding.
Right.
They're starting from scratch. And so like this guy had 8 hours and a micro and a bunch of LEDs and stuff like that. And he made a POV display that spelled out Hackaday and stuff like that. So that was fantastic. And that made the crowd go wild.
Sweet. Yep. Nerds.
The best dead bug was actually two of the speakers that were there, David and Shani Prucci, were both giving talks. And what they did is they basically took some of the NAND logic we had, and then they made they made a key basically, and then they did a transmitter and receiver. So one badge talked to the other badge, so they could send CW commands with a little paddle on the one badge, and it talked to the other badge, and that had an earpiece on it, and that could receive during the talk. The idea was like, we can talk during the talks from across the room. So that was amazing. And then the one that really tripped me out, though, I forget the guy's name. I'm sure it'll be posted somewhere. But basically, he had taken Paul Stoffegren's Arduino audio workshop earlier in the day. And so according to people that I asked after the fact, he hadn't had any experience with this stuff before. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. This was amazing. So basically, he had like an audio receiver and generator. Basically, it could display, it could output sine waves at any frequency or a bunch of different frequencies. It could receive audio and then do a bunch of things. And then he made a spectrum analyzer, and then he actually output that to a screen. But the thing that tripped me out most was then he recorded the spectrum of a Hackaday logo. So basically, if you like whatever the spectrum could receive was, and then he played the sound next to the thing, and then the logo scrolled across the screen.
Oh, no way!
It was like it.
Wow!
There's a video on Twitter that I'll share. That's just like, holy crap balls! And again 8 hours. I'd seen him throughout the. So we did that during the night, during the party, because we were trying to figure out what to do during a party when you're a bunch of, it's not like we're going to dance or anything like that. And so a lot of people were modding and, we were drinking beers and stuff like that and chatting, but we weren't going to dance. And
you sound disappointed.
No. I'm just saying that that's a matter of fact thing. Like I've been to other events before, like other tech events, and it's like they put on music, they expect dancing. And it's like, sorry.
Yeah,
I just want to.
It's not going to, it's not going to happen.
But I think this was a good fit. This was 8 hours, man. And I saw him throughout the night, and I'd seen the different incarnations, and he just kept getting more and more insane. So yeah,
awesome,
nutty. So yes,
it was a success.
Yeah,
Is this the first conference you've organized?
Yeah, the first conference
major?
for sure. Yeah, not the first event, and it wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of people that were helping. So,
right. Okay. Any traps for young players?
I was thinking about you, and you're like, oh, I'm going to set it up.
Set up this hacking camp conference.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I'm a fool.
No, do it, but just hire a lot of help. I tried to do a lot of stuff myself, and like even and I think the thing is like people will self-organize, and like this is not a new lesson. It's just one that I was hard. It took me a little longer to learn. Like the badge modding thing, like that was really people entertaining themselves. You just kind of gave them the prompting. No, And I think it's like that. If you go too fancy and too programmed, it'll be a disappointment because you'll spend all this time, trying to make it super.
Yeah, organized. No, I think it's just like turn up, have a bunch of here's a bunch of stuff in a box to hack, go away. Just
Right.
And then just form, and then no, when you start having formal presentations and other things, no, you're better off just getting everyone to turn up and just mingle.
Right. Well, I think the thing is so the thing we've talked about in the past is that it's so engineering is all about kind of dealing with and overcoming constraints or doing the best within the set of constraints you have. I think the best contests and the best events are really just saying, here's the constraints and making those realistic and making them clear and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then then like you said, bringing the box of stuff. That's kind of the most important thing. And then, you trust people they're going to do something cool. So, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm, like I said, I'll definitely be there, man. If you do that, I think you should.
If you do it, right.
If you do it, I'm not doing it.
Right, you're not helping. Right. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I may show up in in a camper as well. I don't know if I'm I'm ready to sleep on the ground in Australia, but
right, because the snakes will eat you.
Snakes and the spiders and the drop bears. And,
well, is that something that Hackaday want to sponsor? Maybe we can do something down under.
Just
well, Mythbusters got to pay for it, It's not going to be me.
Yeah.
So.
Good luck.
Right. Come on, you're Mr. Big Hot Shot there.
I can ask, but I don't think
right,
think that's
you don't
gonna
think
fly,
it's
buddy.
gonna.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna fly. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have stuff from a while ago.
We have lots of stuff from a while ago. Let's finish off the show. We've got 25 minutes left or something. Let's finish off with whole bunch
I was
of
interested
stuff.
by the TI thing. Did you see that thing? The TI kills the student sample program.
They've killed the student thing. Yeah. Why?
Money. I mean, so someone posted the Dr. Locke on Twitter posted the sample change or the policy change. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I mean, you'd think that I'm guessing it's just they're not getting the return on investment that they expect, but kind of talking about the Mythbusters thing like we were before. That's one of those things where it's just you're not going to see that stuff directly. No, it's intangible.
Yeah. It's it's something you've got to do with the belief that it's going to ultimately pay dividends. It's these things unfortunately always get canned at these big companies because it's not quantifiable. Right? You can't, you can't get a KPI for it, a key performance indicator. You can't get a number out of it, right? All they see it, all management see it, is as a drain on money. Well, where's our return on that investment? You can't show it.
Right. Well, and especially when there's a management change as well, that'll always, because, it's all right, we're going to go through the books. What's going on with this one? Yeah,
exactly. This isn't making any money. What the hell are we doing this for? Cancelled. They don't see the bigger picture.
I think the thing that we should talk
is.
about is not necessarily whining about this. We should just someone Ignim on Reddit said exactly what I would say too. It's this is when you figure out that starting a company is shockingly easy, and you don't need to have an LLC or anything like that. So, you can have a company, and I think so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No.
Again, I'm not a lawyer, and this is just my experience. But in the U.S., you can have and register a company and have a loss for I think 3 to 5 years before you get in trouble for it.
Right, yeah. Our tax man doesn't like you making a loss year after year.
Right. Well, then that's just usually because of tax
bring
shelter
the
stuff
hammer
like
down.
that. But even like the stuff that I did. So I have an LLC, and I know that there's business stuff's different everywhere, and I do make money, so that helps. But it is worth having that. I mean, but if you need an LLC probably or you could go even more extreme to like an S corp if you were making money, especially if you have partners, anything like that, you should have legal agreements around it. But otherwise, you can just be a sole proprietor in the United States and just be doing business as your company name. And like this person says, the big thing is having a website, having your own domain, Chris at, randomwebsiteco.com. Yeah, it's a good place. We always talk on here about portfolios and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, you should.
It's just it's good to promote yourself if you want to be built. If you're building stuff anyways, you may eventually want to sell it. If you eventually want to sell it, you're probably gonna want to shuttle people back to your website. You may want to have a mailing list.
Has a presence.
Yeah.
I got my first business name when I was, registered business name. I was like 17 or something. I got my first registered business name. And
and I know
it's just
what it is
a name.
because
you go in and,
it used to be on our domain registration.
Oh, right. And, yes, yeah.
And it will follow you around. We should say that too. So don't make it like...
Totally. No, my old website with the name is still out there.
Yeah, right.
And it's, it's like, it cost like, I don't know what at the time, like cost like $70 to register the business name, and you got it for like 5 years or something. And it's like, you could do lots of stuff when you had the business name, and
you don't even have to have that here. It's I guess you do need to check
you don't have to. It's
copyright.
like here, it's only if you own over, like if you're business, if you're like a one-man band business, like self, a sole trader, as they call it here, you can earn up to like 80 grand a year before they force you to have a business, like name and everything else.
Right. And it can be kind of fun too, to be honest. I mean, it can be kind of fun, coming up with logos, stuff like that. Like, it's great to put logos on your PCBs and just kind of make them stand out. It's just...
No, it's fun. If anything, it's fun, and it makes you feel professional and good.
Yeah, exactly. It's boy, feeling professional never felt so fun.
Yeah. I was actually, the other day, I don't know how I got there, I saw it somewhere, I was actually almost tempted to set up an LLC company in, is it Wyoming? Is that one of the major states there where you set up like, tax haven corporations and stuff like that?
The big one here is Delaware. That's the big one.
It is Delaware, but there's this other one. I think it's Wyoming. And Wyoming, even like there's an official like government website where you just go in and they handle everything for you. If you're a foreigner, that you can just come in and they'll handle like everything, and you can set up your company, you can get a bank account, you can get a social I don't know if you get a social security number, but you get everything needed, like and you get an official address in the US.
Yeah, it's called an EIN, is employer identification number.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I thought, and it was cheap and it seemed so easy to set up. I thought, I could have a corporation in the US, I have no idea what I'd use it for, but
you could call it EEV Blog East.
Right.
EEVE.
Dear. East or west? You guys are behind us, so it must be west. I've got to go west,
You fly east to get here, buddy. You
can't jump across that time zone. Yeah, I do fly east to get there, but technically the way the world rotates, like you guys are behind.
Yeah, but I guess we do call China the Far East, but then we fly west to get there. So,
right, okay.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right, because you would call it west because it'd be like because it's usually called like the Western world, that kind of thing, right? So,
well, I don't. Well,
head west, young man. Anyway. That's what you need to do.
Right. Right. So I need to set up my tax haven, do I?
Right. Well, and that's where you could have a camping event too in Wyoming. That's a great camping state.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I've heard. Yes. Well, so on the website they were extolling the virtues of how wonderful and beautiful the state is. Set up your company here, and we've got mountains and streams, and I was sold. Yeah,
man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful up there. I think that's Jackson Hole is up there too. That's like one of the big ski resorts, stuff like that. So.
Right. Okay. There you go. So, maybe I will.
Do it.
Maybe next time we talk, I'll have
Do it.
an American corporation.
Nice.
So then maybe like I can, run like an American Kickstarter or something. Like there's probably a bunch of things that I've never even thought of that having a US presence might actually be helpful. So,
yeah. Well, a lot of companies do that
and a bank account
in other
in the
countries
US
too, right? I mean, like Apple,
Oh,
all of
I know
Apple
what
stuff
I could do.
goes to Ireland.
Oh, I'll never have to bank another Amazon check.
There you go.
Yes. Oh, shit, I think I'm going to do it just for that. Oh, bloody Amazon.
Yeah.
If you don't have a US bank account, you're screwed. You've got to... Oh, it's just so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think I'll do it just to make my life less stress-free.
Okay.
In that regard. Just thought of that. All right.
So the long and the short of it is, if you're a student and you need parts and you want to get samples, I mean, this is good outside of just TI as well. A lot of chip companies will go for this kind of thing. So I'm not saying to lie about your EAU, which is estimated annual usage, but you can push the envelope maybe.
Be optimistic.
Be optimistic. I could sell 5,000 units on Kickstarter. Who knows?
I could.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
One article I'm not sure if we covered last time, I don't think so, was the heist of Dick Smith. Did we talk about that?
We didn't, but that was really pretty financially thing, right? I mean,
it is financially thing, but it's relevant to Australians. But yeah, I'll just mention it for 1 minute. Just go read how Dick Smith, a famous electronics company here in Australia, who were owned by a big food chain here anyway.
Yeah.
Don't ask, long story. How they got, how this company of ex-bankers just heisted this company. It's just a brilliant read. Just go read the article.
The only thing I think it's relevant because this is kind of a reason to run away when a lot of companies I really worried about this kind of thing when Freescale got picked up by. Do you remember when they got taken private?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was Blackstone, private equity.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it is that, they see all this value that they can sell off. They sell off all the fabs and they start changing management out to make it more friendly and stuff like that. And they're just squeezing the juice out of that orange, man. It's just they don't give a crap.
Yeah, but in this case, yes, it was a private equity firm who bought it, but it was the way they did it and the way they made the company who they bought it from pay for it. It was it was one of the best. I wish I was this smart,
See, I don't read it like that at all. I read it as these people add absolutely nothing to the world.
Oh no, I totally agree.
They're just harvesting they literally left the company in shambles. Yeah, I mean, and then they took it public, and so they bought it as a private equity acquisition, and then they took the company public. They fleeced all the mum and dad investors who, Dick Smith is a famous name here, right? Oh yeah, right. I'll invest in Dick Smith shares, and it was a total sham, and everyone lost. They're total leeches, but just from. From the financial aspect of it, it is a brilliant play, and it's totally legal. And I was just in awe of how they were able to do this. I don't believe they should be able to do it. It's totally unethical. They're a bunch of bastards, but I can still be in awe at their ability to do it, though. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. LinkedIn down below.
Well, I don't know where to go from that. We do have.
Well, no, hey, there's another huge acquisition.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Acquisition of the month. On Semiconductor. This one just came through straight off the teletype. On Semiconductor have agreed, or they're going to acquire Fairchild.
Now, I would be interested to hear. I don't really care about Fairchild anymore. I think they've been going down the toilet for years.
Fairchild are,
no offense to them, not offense to the engineers that work there.
They're not high profile. You might buy a Fairchild transistor or diode or something, but
well, no, they have switchers and they have op-amp portfolio and stuff like that. But it was always very underwhelming. They were always behind the times. I would be interested to hear your opinion on Fairchild back in the day, though, because people don't know that. So
I'm
Fairchild
not
is
that old.
No, I know.
You should be asking Jack, not me.
Well, even Jack though. I mean, like, no. I mean, this is like Fairchild is. People should know the history of Fairchild. That's where the Trader Estate came from. You know, that's like, or that's what they made rather. The Trader Estate left. Shoot, it was named after the guy. Schottky, is that it? Shockley.
Yes. Shockley. Semiconductor. Yep.
Yeah, so it was Shockley, and then the Trader Estate left there. They went to Fairchild. Then Fairchild is the one that, like, there's that family tree, which I know we've talked about before. The family tree from Fairchild. Fairchild is like, is the papa.
It's the spawn of all Silicon Valley. You know, it's
that's Intel, and that's, you know, National, and like a bunch of them, and then they all spawned from those.
Yeah.
And now it's all collapsing back down. This is like if Fairchild was the Big Bang, we are now entering into the... whatever
big crunch.
Yeah, the big crunch. Whatever's going to happen at the end of the universe, right?
Well, it's either the big crunch or the big freeze.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. Right. The universe
Which side of the
may have
fence
started
do you
with a
sit
bang, but it will end with a whimper.
It will end with a whimper. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. So Fairchild was awesome, but actually, I'm actually just interested in your opinion when they first came into your radar. Because obviously that was after they kind of already peaked as well in the early days. So what's your feeling about them?
Well, I remember Fairchild mostly from passive parts, you know, like or you know, transistors, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I really have not used many Fairchild ICs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but back in the day, they made, you know, the duck's guts transistors and, you know, power trannies and things like that. So.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Right. So you were always more on the, now when you say transistors too, you mean power transistors or just any transistors?
Oh, I'm talking power. You know, like you're more, you know, specialist niche kind of ones. You know.
Right.
Yep.
Makes you wonder. Do you think they're going to keep the name? I don't know if they mentioned it in the article.
I still have not finished reading the whole article because we just got this before the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, to me, Fairchild is, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like a dead brand. Like, it doesn't, like, I'm not going to go, oh, yeah, it's Fairchild, you know. Like,
right.
Yeah, they're, you know, yeah, I always trust Fairchild.
Trust them, right.
Parts.
Yeah, it's a trust thing. That's totally
it's
right.
like,
yeah.
I just use so few Fairchild. Yeah, they might pop up here and there, but it's not like, oh, yeah, I'm going to use Fairchild because I trust them. You know, they're the parts I've always used. You know,
but it also could be could be the industries that we've been in as well, right? They did a lot of automotive and audio and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just, they just weren't on our particular radar. So,
right,
you know,
right.
Yeah,
so another one bites the dust.
It is, you know, and you know they're into optical, like analog. Like, what are they making the analog and mixed signal market? They make amplifiers, they make battery protection ICs, you know, haptic drivers, signal conditioning.
I mean, I like I said, I've had their. I think they were the ones who gave me a portfolio. Oh no, I'm thinking Intersil actually. I'm confusing Intersil and
there's another name, you know, which was big back in the day. You know,
right.
Every multimeter had an Intersil there's 7603 or whatever it is, you know, Intersil IC in it, right? Now the duck's guts now, like, who cares about Intersil parts? No one.
Right. Well, it's a branding thing and a pricing thing, and man, it's just not an easy place to be, of course. So,
but they're a multi-billion-dollar business, so they're selling to somebody. It's just not maybe Joe Average engineer. It's, you know, they're selling into. It's just like, what was the company that bought the other week? Who's that unknown company who bought?
Oh, Dialogue bought Atmel.
A Dialogue. Who the hell uses Dialogue parts, right?
Yeah, automotive people.
Nobody.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You know, but you never heard of them. They're a brand which basically doesn't exist, yet they're in every iPhone. They're in every, you know, in everything. They're a huge company.
Was it iPhones?
You know,
I thought there was one that was automotive. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Then they're in iPhones. They make, like, the power management chips in iPhones, all the specialized power management chips that have to generate, you know, 20 different voltage rails.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it'll be interesting when it's, when it's like, okay, the trade show floor is now open. You can go in there, and it's just like one booth. Boy, I tell you, the swag keeps getting worse. It's just the final company just changes its name to Chip Company.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, it's like
No, it's not going to be that. It's just going to be that
the
it's going to be
consolidation is.
it's going to be Chinese chip companies. Honestly, I mean, like even so on Hackaday there was an article about the ESP32, which I think we've mentioned when we heard about it because there was a tweet about it.
Yes, that's right. We did.
But they finally announced some more of the specs, some of that kind of thing. It's going to have like dual processors and Bluetooth now and that kind of thing. And like it's probably going to be cheap. There's not really many details about it yet, so it's going to have to wait. But like even just the ESP8266, I mean that thing's already disrupting a lot of this stuff. Comparing it to like CC3000 or something like that from TI or some of the other Wi-Fi modules that are out there. Yeah, it's stupid and small. Not stupid. That's the wrong word. It's simple because you have to use the AT commands. It's simple and it's maybe a little clumsy. It's not like super high level, but sometimes that's not sometimes. That's always the path. It's always the innovator's dilemma from the bottom up, right? It's just going to be that super cheap tiny stuff that keeps getting better,
right?
And now there's bigger and bigger targets for the other people to hit. On Semiconductor's now bigger, and Dialogue's now bigger, and everybody else is bigger, and start nibbling at some heels, man.
Before long, we won't have to do a parametric search for manufacturer on DigiKey. They'll just drop the, Oh, man. Because, that's like, as we're talking about, trust and confidence, it's like often I will go, well, I'm going to sort, when I'm doing my parametric search on DigiKey and Mouser, right? I'll go, I trust that brand, right? Oh, yeah, parts, bloody IO, whatever it is you've got, right?
Right.
Don't use it. Sorry, dude. And yeah, I go, right, I'm going to sort by manufacturer. I often do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what TI have got. Like
right. You'll just take out the cruft.
Right?
You won't the super small ones that you maybe never heard of.
Yeah,
You'll just ignore
exactly.
them. Yeah, trust is a big deal for sure. It's interesting.
But then of course, I don't recommend everyone do that because you can miss some parts that are ideal for your project when you do that. Don't use that as your sole searching method because that's
right.
That's
and,
not
and
great,
even from a sourcing perspective too, right? I mean, like if you were like, oh well, I just use one vendor's parts, it's like that one vendor might take you to the cleaners pricing wise, or if that one vendor has a fab problem one month, you're kind of
fab
screwed.
problem.
Yeah. I mean, like it's not like parts are as
right,
swappable as they used to be, but yeah, it's nutty.
No, because everything's application specific these days. It's getting much more application specific.
Yeah, it makes
even,
you wonder.
People crap on about ARM. The good thing about ARM is that you can move from one manufacturer to it's bullshit.
Right, that's totally.
Right.
I mean, you can't. No, you can. It's just that
you can,
still
but
a headache.
There's still a ton of pain.
Right.
Yeah, there's still a ton of pain involved.
Right. I think that requires you to basically write super clean code from the beginning, anyways. So
super clean code. Try getting 2 pinouts the same on 2 different ARM chips from 2 different manufacturers.
Oh yeah. You'd still have to remap
Good luck.
everything. I mean, you
still have to respin your board.
Well, but I mean that's
Maybe.
not as big a deal from the code perspective, right? Because like if you have, you could have a pin mapping table that just as long as your layout's fine, you can then shuffle your pins there. But you need to make sure you have all the same peripherals then, right? That's kind of the tough part.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, this chip only has 6 ADCs instead of 8. And I was using 7.
10-bit instead of 12-bit.
Right,
they don't have the same noise performance. And, the same library doesn't work.
Right.
I got to use another library. This new library's buggy.
Right. It's not quite a redesign, but it's not fun.
It's not something you want to do.
Right.
It's not something you can respin in a week,
Right,
usually.
definitely not.
It's a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of code, there was another article that is not even close to new. In fact, if you click on the site, you're like, oh yeah, that's not new. But I was reading about how Go turned 6, I think, the Google-based language that was apparently supposed to be, the
never
successor
heard of it. I don't think.
Oh no? Okay, so it's like it's supposed to be like a successor to C, and there's a bunch that talk about that kind of thing. There's Go, and that can get pretty low level. And then
who the hell uses Go?
So I've seen a couple projects. So there's a project called the GoBot, which is kind of like a high. So the robots written in Go, but they still need to run on like higher end stuff like BeagleBones and stuff like that. But those things are so cheap anyways that it's not as big a deal when you think about it. Like throwing a $40-$50 board in there, not a big deal. And then that really makes it accessible for people that are coming from the software world, especially if you already know Go from the higher level stuff, right?
Right.
What I didn't know is that D is a parent programming language. Apparently, did you know?
What?
D? Yeah,
no.
D. Yeah, and that's another one that's supposed to be a successor for
right.
C, and then of course C++ is
Sorry,
still.
I'm just rolling my eyes
right,
now.
right.
You can. Yeah.
Well, and I mean we've talked about this before with C is still kind of reigns supreme in the low end, the low side of things, and I'm sure that Alicia and Chris could come on here and tell us a lot more about that than we would ever be able to speak about with any with any authority. Where was I going with that? So C is still around, and it's still always going to be around. Not always going to be, but it's it's like it doesn't, not like a language dies, it just becomes less used. Because there's still Fortran stuff around. There's still Pascal stuff around.
What's your point?
What is my point? The thing that was interesting in this article that was not related to this at all is that Go is now compiled in Go, right? So Go was first written in C in order to try and replicate a lot of the functionality and get it down at that low level.
Sounds very Forth-like to me.
Well, every language has this, right? Eventually, you have to bootstrap any language.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't get how that's done. And so there's this article from Reno.org, and it looks like a text document because it basically is. And it talks about how to do it. And it talks about how to basically start from the low level, and you write stuff in hex, and you're doing machine code, and you basically make a couple small commands, and then you compile that, and then then you've have these commands, and then you can write a small compiler, and then you write a bigger compiler, and it's just like, holy crap. I mean, like, this is kind of the level where I think about people coming into the field, myself included, where I'm never going to have to do this. No one has to do this.
Oh, no.
But understanding stuff.
It's like knowing how chips are made. It's like you just don't need to know it, really.
Right, exactly. Or you're not caring about like the implant doping on a FET.
No, exactly.
On your Intel i7, right? It's like
no, that's
on
right.
the single FET. You're right. It's all about levels of abstraction. But like at some point, someone has to know this stuff, right? If you ever want to make a better,
of course,
a better language or a better system, there still has to be that graybeard or someone who's like, well, I know how to get all the way to the bottom. And this is kind of one way to learn about it, and there's benefits to knowing how to go from the bottom up too, because you might the best firmware engineer I've ever worked with, he would just he would be disassembling everything, and he'd be like, nope, didn't like what the compiler did here.
Right.
He was a bit anal about it, but
yeah,
he got stuff running super fast because he could then go in and optimize and just rip out what the compiler's doing, or even rewrite the C in order to get the compiler to do what he actually wanted in assembly, because he knew that would be faster. And, getting to that point is, you need to know that low-level stuff. So I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I thought maybe some of our listening audience might like it. So
right.
So good luck, folks.
My care factor is almost zero.
No, I get it.
For these new languages.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think one of the problems is it kind of contributes to the not... I don't know if we have this as much in hardware, but like the not made here syndrome. Do you know that one?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that happens a lot of software companies, and it's like, well, why should we buy an off-the-shelf thing when we can just build it ourselves? And that can be problematic. It's usually because engineers like a challenge, and they want to build their own thing, even though...
Right, of course.
You never really know all of the problems until you start building something. So that's kind of one of the ideas there. So things I learned from this is that D is a programming language. It's not very popular. And
you think?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. There was another article that I'll link. It was a comparison of Go, Rust, and D as the potential successors for C. It was on Quora, I believe.
Yeah, but C in what area?
Right. Well, that's the problem.
Not in our embedded world. No, it's just not going to happen.
No, that's what they were saying. And it was that. I mean, like...
Oh,
I mean, I don't know.
Come on.
I don't have
you
any.
know it's not going to happen.
I know it's probably not going to happen. There will be some people that do it, but like that's kind of the thing. Like all of these things they're not all about, but they're usually about groundswell, right? You know, it'll start where someone will say,
totally.
no way. And then eventually, you know, it because of something about it or the time is right, you know, that it's the right tool for the job for one certain thing, and that one certain thing becomes really important. Like if there was a language that allowed, you know, say the ESP8266 was the chip from now on forever, right? And there was some new language that
that worked with it, and you had to use it.
Yeah.
Right.
Then maybe that would be
that's the thing. It always comes down to the have to use it kind of thing. Like if you want to learn embedded programming, and you want to get a job as an embedded programmer, you need to know C. That has to be the thing. There's no point learning Go or D.
Well, maybe eventually, but you should probably also know C, right? If you're just doing the one thing, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's a critical mass thing. You know, it's like...
Yeah, but that's not always going to be true, you know, Dave? I mean, like, that's... Like, we could say that, but it's probably true in the short term, but it's probably not true forever.
Well, no, you'd be foolish to say it's true for the next 100 years, you know, but...
Right, so at some point, some other language would have to come up and replace it, right?
Yeah.
We're probably not going back to machine, just, you know, handwritten assembly and machine code.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God, I don't know. Anyway.
I think there is benefits.
Stop talking about programming languages.
Sorry. Yeah.
No interest in them, really.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of related, though, too, because... So there was I didn't actually put it on the list, but there's a new board milling machine out there, and I totally forget the name of it. There's a new Kickstarter out about it.
I'm sorry, can I yawn? Sorry to the people who are running this. I'm sure it's a good Kickstarter, but you're like, they're like 3D printer Kickstarters now. Like, there's just so many of them.
So it's Prometheus is the name of it. There's a Kickstarter about it, that kind of thing. And I'm like,
and what's their angle?
It's a board milling machine.
It's a board milling machine.
Yes.
Yeah. Does it have any novel features, or is it just
really,
another board milling machine?
But no, the reason it's relevant.
Is it low cost? Is it modular? Is it, I don't know? Can it do double layer boards? You know, what's the sell it to me?
I can't. Well, that's the point. I mean, like, but the thing that was the most interesting about it is that they're making this board making machine. Which is cool. But the thing that was most interesting to me is that they're attaching and maybe mandating. I'm not sure about the mandating, but like in the video, they show that they wrote their own layout tool for it. Like it's like a click and drag.
No, fail. I'm sorry.
Well, no, and that's the point. That's what I'm saying.
Without even having said, like my hat's off to them. Fantastic work, very impressive. But no, nobody wants to use a custom layout tool to do their boards so that they can have it made on this, when they'll just have to go lay out the board in some other package to get it made.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I mean, like that's a thing where it's like a custom made tool that might seem okay in the short term.
They're partnering with Upverter.
It's not Upverter though. That's the thing. It's a different.
Yeah, but they're
tool.
It's a big. Well, then why have they got Upverter on the? They've got Zippy Robotics plus Upverter announcing our partnership.
I don't know.
Blah blah blah. What? So they're using Upverter.
It didn't look like. No, it's Zippy PCB. It's called.
Yeah, but if you scroll down...
I know what you're talking about, Dave. I'm just saying that it's not showing the video. That's all I know, so...
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I haven't watched the video. Sorry. Anyway, it was announcing our partnership.
So it looks like a cool little machine, but that's the part where it's like... That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. And maybe I'm wrong, and I'm willing to be corrected, but whatever. Like, the machine looks really nice, but the... You know, that feels like that not made here kind of thing, where it's like, oh, well, we also need to make
we also have to write our own,
CAD package, and like
CAD package from scratch, and there's just so many of them. Just like don't. My advice to anyone who wants to do something like this: no, partner up. Like, I think they're smart to partner with Upverter.
Yeah, well, and if that was going to be it, then that'd be good. Yeah, they have a good tool.
That'd be good. Like,
we've had them on the show, right? They're doing fine.
Right.
So,
partner with somebody else who's done that. Like, don't waste your time and effort writing your own CAD tool. It's just no.
Right.
Jeez.
Well, I feel like it's always one of those things where it's like, I don't know about you, but I hear this a lot where someone's like, oh, no, that's easy. You hear an engineer say that, you're like, oh.
Hang on. Yeah, look, here it is. Sorry. We recommend Upverter as the professional EDA tool of choice for people using Prometheus. Like,
okay.
So why, just...
Well, then maybe that was after the video was made. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, it seems like a new thing, maybe. But, anyway.
I was talking to a friend over the week. So I got to try out the other mill and stuff like that too. And I really like the other mill. Like, this one looks good as well. This says it can do 7 mil. I don't believe that until I see it, but if it can, then that's pretty good. But still not as good as a
as a professionally made board.
Yeah.
No. I can etch my own boards with 7 thou easy.
Right.
So
Well, and that's what I was saying to my friend. I was like, I wonder if okay, we've obviously had this conversation a lot about it's worth it to send it out and just get it made pro. But I wonder if there's room, because there is a reason to have, something like this. I mean, like, the benefits of having a quick turn board kind of thing like this are really great. I mean, like, it's really nice to be able to
of
change.
Course. Yeah.
We both know that. We've both done quick turnaround and stuff like that, and it's better than paying.
But you've got to have the need for it. You've got to have the need.
Right. But what I was wondering is if there's a place in the market for some kind of acid etching solution that is not super crazy expensive or dangerous. Cause
I think there is probably a niche thing out there for a really innovative, polished, professional way to make your own boards chemically and make it less messy and fussy for people. I don't know what that approach would be, but something like an inkjet style, maybe, where it's spraying down acid or something. I mean, the problem is with acid, it's just, it's an acid, so I don't know. There's some magic.
Too.
There's some magic box. You just pour the chemicals in, and it does its magic, and you feed in the. I don't know, but somebody clever could come up with something there and have a nice niche little business there selling quick turn chemically etched boards.
Yeah, and that might, because that's the main thing. So we were discussing the 10 mil limit that's on other mill, and that's for a lot of boards that's great. But like any of the new footprints, it's like no, footprints aren't getting bigger, so you at least need to have a breakout then. So unless the other option there is if more chip companies start just attaching samples to breakout boards, that would be one way, and I'd like to see that, but, as we talked about earlier in the show, it's not like they're looking to spend more money on samples so I don't know.
The issue with milling machines is that they're not actually that quick, and they're messy, they're noisy.
Yeah.
And they don't produce the same board, because they're they don't etch away all the dead copper. It's like...
Right, right.
It's just not quite the same board as you would get with a professionally, even like a hand etch one. I used to make my own double-sided boards, and it wasn't that hard. I'd expose both sides of the PCB. All you got to do is it's trivial to line up the two masks for each side, the 2 photo masks, and then wedge it between some glass, and then expose one side, expose the other, and etch it, and bingo, you've got this, 8 thou easily professionally etched board. All you got to do is actually drill the holes in it.
Right, and then attach if you've drilled the holes. If you're doing vias, right?
If you're doing vias and things like that, that could be a bit harder. Especially if a via was under a chip, you would have to solder the via first through and then put the chip on,
right, for sure,
kind of thing. So but still, I think I would prefer that. I would prefer to have a proper chemically etched homemade board than a milled board.
Right. Well, and if you're doing something like inkjet style, you also, in theory, would be able to lay down a layer of solder mask at the end, which is also just as critical for a lot of boards and stuff. So.
Right. Yes. That'd be nice. There's, like for somebody to somehow automate and or make that process easy. I think, I would buy one. Whereas I don't know if I would buy a milling machine.
Yeah.
A PCB miller. I'm not sure if I would. Noisy, messy. I don't want, I don't want that in my nice, clean office/lab here.
I was a total idiot.
What?
My friend was helping me mill a board, and on another mill, and then there was a bunch of FR1 plus copper dust on top of it, and the back thing was on, and I blew into the thing, and it all just came right back out in my face.
Oh.
Just like, I'm so stupid. Ripped my contacts out real fast and flushed my eyes out. I was fine. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna go blind.
Oh, man.
Such an idiot.
Yeah. So there you go. That's our show. We're 15 minutes over.
Indeed. All right. Well, there's a lot of other links on the subreddit. You can check them out there. We will be discussing whether or not we do. Keep an eye out. We may do a call-in show next week. We'll see. It's coming up on the holiday.
Who knows?
So that could be kind of dicey. But it might work.
Right. All right. I'm going back to finish my live bench.
And then registering a company in Wyoming.
And register a company in Wyoming and release my pre-done video. I actually have a Fundamentals Friday pre-done. I've had it for a week.
Wow.
Those who are on Patreon have already seen it.
Wow.
And I will release that tomorrow. Yeah, this week has been like a sort of do other things than make videos week kind of thing. So, yep, cool. Getting stuff done.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. See you next week.
Catch you next time.